Hi, this is Ron Shirer with another Art Geek production, and I'm here with Jani Wolf, the author of For the Eagle's Heart. She has written this novel and is here to speak with us a little bit about it. So let's take a look at the novel here. Just to put it in front of Jani for a second here. Okay, this is it, and it actually had the name under it. It would be Janice Susanna Wolf, but she goes by Jani, and she's here to talk with us about her novel. Hi, Jani. How are you?
Hi, Ron. Nice to see you.
And you, hon. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Well, I have to give credit to my business partner who traveled to Alaska to see the Bald Eagle Festival. He came back with an idea for a story. He knew that I was interested in writing and was just searching for a subject. And he gave me his 5-minute idea and encouraged me to go on to write my first novel. So I traveled to Alaska, spent a month there, got to know the Tlingit people who feature prevalently in the book, did interviews with them, researched their history, their culture, their social problems, and wove that into the novel.
So you're like a method actor in a way, where you actually go and put yourself in the shoes of your characters and your protagonists to see their side of the story and actually feel what they were going through.
Yeah. Well, for me as a writer, I love the human aspect, and I think the only way you can write an entertaining novel is to experience what your characters would be experiencing in real time. And this is a more modern novel. It's not based 100 years ago or so. It's things that people can relate to, and a lot of the social items that are featured in the book are still existent today among the Tlingit tribe and the Alaskan people. So I felt that it was important to immerse myself in that whole thing, because Alaska is so different than the lower 48, and it's important for you to get that experience so you know what it's like to live there in a very small village that's remote from everything that we know here in the States.
Well, from the largest state in the United States, to have that much open space, and also to be so dominated by the natural culture there, which is the Indian culture, the Eskimo, and etc. That it's it is a totally different lifestyle from the rest of the United States.
Well, I think it's interesting to find out, and this is something that you only really learn by going up there, is that many of the indigenous people still practice their way of subsistence living, where they still live off the land. They still go fishing, and it's not to go fishing for recreational purposes. This is the way they feed their family. They still go out and collect seaweed. They still do a lot of things that was their lifestyle always. And the economy is not that great in Alaska, especially for the Tlingit Indians, the Eskimos, the Inuaks, any of them. So they still rely on the natural resources that is such a big part of their culture to make their way in the world today, because there's not a lot of commerce, travel, opportunities in Alaska is what's bringing a lot of the commerce to them, but they don't necessarily get the lion's share of it. Unfortunately, it's a lot of imports from the lower 48. Those are the people that are getting the jobs that the travel industry are creating. And the great thing is the Tlingit Indians are assimilating. They're starting to go back into their culture and find ways that they can be economically viable in this new creation that we put upon them. We created the new Alaska, and they're trying to adapt. But they're very adaptable people, and they're very friendly, and they're very accepting, and I would say that's one of their biggest problems, because they are very accepting, they're very trusting, and they allowed things to happen to them that a more wary sort of people wouldn't have left happen. And but it's their culture is still very important to them, and they're doing their best to keep their cultural ways in spite of the the modern things that are being introduced into Alaska.
Well, the state of culture nowadays is they want to industrialize and come in and find ways of utilizing the resources to a point where it commodifies and really almost destroys it. It mechanizes the resources.
Exactly.
So this is something that you're discussing. This is also a romance, though, isn't it?
Yes. Well, there's a lot of spirituality in it, and a lot of the romance is the love of the Tlingit people for their country, for their people, for the animals, for the fish, for the foliage, everything that makes up their place of living, where they were born. They were the indigenous people. They're the people who created Alaska, the ambiance and everything of Alaska, and they do have a love affair with the area that they live in, and they want to try to protect it. So there's a lot of levels of romance in the novel, and you have some social conflicts, you have some cultural conflicts. You'll find a lot of insight into the personalities of each character in the book, and there's quite a few different characters. Of course, you have to have the person that doesn't quite get along with everybody, but has a little bit of a revelation or a catharsis of type. He's a secondary character, but he's integral to so many of the things that happen in the book.
We wouldn't have a story without a little bit of conflict, right?
Exactly.
Gotta do that. Okay, well that's great. Now you've come to writing from what angle? How long have you've been writing?
Well, I started writing when I was in elementary school, and I've always done some sort of writing, whether it's poetry, short stories, news reporting. I did, in my adult years, I did a magazine for a place where I was employed. I did a monthly magazine for the employees in the company. That was more like a newspaper type thing, reporting the events and single-handedly
more of an exercise,
going out and finding interesting things about the people that I worked with and sharing that with everybody else, because I think that's a common thing in industry and offices, where you work with people every day but you don't truly know them. And there's some interesting stories. I worked with a lot of people that were quite a bit older than me, and they had experiences in World War II that it doesn't come up in normal conversation. So I would do stories like that, and I like the human angle of it. In the past 15 years, I didn't do too much writing except marketing and advertising, because I was involved in a construction company. That took up most of my time, and the opportunity to do this book came along because we kind of downsized our business and decided to eliminate the stress level.
You published this privately, right?
Yes. Okay. We self-published.
Okay, great. Okay, well, we're just about done with our time here. So I wanted to thank you, Jani, for coming here and speaking with me about this, and also about
my pleasure.
Absolutely. Now go out and buy this book, folks. It's called For the Eagle's Heart, written by Jani Wolf. Okay, this is Ron Shirer for Art Geek Productions. Thank you very much.
Good.